Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something we like to call the $20,000 paradigm shift. Now, if you've ever checked your bank account and instead of immediately swiping out of the app in total panic, you actually smiled, well, you're absolutely in the right place today. We're about to completely flip how you view wealth building. So forget the complicated math formulas and all that endless financial jargon. We're going to look at a really fascinating, highly achievable shift that will fundamentally change how you interact with money from this day forward.
So let me ask you a question right out of the gate. When you think about building wealth, what immediately comes to mind? Because most of the financial advice out there insists that you need $1 million to feel wealthy, or that hitting a six-figure salary is some absolute magic number. They love to paint this picture of a massive, overwhelming mountain you have to climb just to be able to breathe. But you know what? Here is the thing they're totally missing. We are going to completely shatter that common millionaire myth right now. There is actually a much smaller, incredibly achievable milestone that completely transforms your relationship with money. And here it is, 20 grand. Seriously, $20,000 is the actual magic number. Think of it as an invisible threshold that totally separates paycheck to paycheck living from true sustainable wealth. Once you hit this exact number, the rules of the financial game completely change. You stop just kind of hoping things will magically improve, and you actually start seeing the undeniable mechanics of wealth building take over your life.
Picture this. Imagine trying to push a ridiculously heavy boulder up a really steep hill. Getting it started is agonizing, right? You're straining, you're sweating, you're making very little progress, and you're constantly questioning if it's even possible to get to the top. Well, everything before $20,000 feels exactly like that, like you are just pushing uphill against gravity. But once you hit that peak and build the momentum, that boulder rolls down the other side almost effortlessly. Gravity suddenly starts working in your favor. You know, the psychology behind that boulder metaphor is super fascinating. When you have zero savings, your brain is literally trapped in what psychologists call survival mode. You're reactive, fear-based, and focused entirely on short-term survival. You take terrible jobs just because you literally can't afford to be picky. Your mental bandwidth is completely consumed by immediate threats. Honestly, it's like trying to plan a beach vacation while your house is actively on fire. But crossing that $20,000 threshold shifts you entirely into opportunity mode. In fact, Vanguard research actually shows that having just a $2,000 emergency buffer increases your financial well-being by 21%. Push that buffer to 3 to 6 months of expenses, which lands right around that $20,000 mark, and you get another 13% boost. You finally get the breathing room to think about wealth building, not just wealth preservation. Okay, let's dive into the math here because this is genuinely exciting. Let's say you're investing $1,000 a month at an 8% return. Getting that very first $20,000 takes about 19 months of sheer discipline and sacrifice. But your next $20,000, it doesn't take another 19 months. It only takes 17. You did the exact same amount of work, but you just shaved 2 full months off your timeline. Why? Because your first 20 grand is now working right alongside your monthly contributions. Fast forward to when you have a $400,000 portfolio, and generating your next $20,000 takes just 5 months. That's compound interest doing the heavy lifting for you. So the absolutely crucial point here is the power of scale. Up until this milestone, investment returns feel pretty tiny. If you get a 10% return on $2,000, well, that's $200. Nice? Sure. Life-changing? Not exactly. But an 8% return on $20,000? That creates a highly meaningful $1,600 flowing right into your account over the course of a year, completely automatically. That's money you didn't have to earn by clocking in at your job. You don't need access to exclusive hedge funds for this. You just need enough scale to transform small percentage wins into actual, tangible financial progress. And this mathematical momentum triggers something even bigger, an ultimate identity shift. When you save this kind of money, you're accomplishing something far more valuable than just hoarding cash in a bank account. You're fundamentally rewiring your brain. Think about it. To save this amount from zero, you had to track your dollars, say no to a bunch of shiny objects, and do it consistently for months or even years. You basically proved to yourself that you can delay gratification and control your money instead of letting your money control you. It's a massive mental shift that alters every single financial decision you make going forward. Because of that identity shift, you finally stop obsessing over micro decisions. You know exactly the ones I'm talking about. Agonizing in the grocery aisle over generic versus name brand cereal, or feeling genuinely guilty about buying a $3 coffee. Like, is it really worth it, or should you just drink the terrible brew at the office? Should you get premium or regular gas? These micro decisions just utterly drain your mental energy because every single dollar feels so precious.
But once you cross that $20,000 threshold, you quickly realize these micro decisions are largely irrelevant. You free up all this mental bandwidth to focus on the big decisions that actually move the needle, like optimizing your housing, maximizing your income, and refining your investments. Now, this newly freed up bandwidth directly impacts your career too. It creates what's often called walking away money. Basically, this is a financial buffer that gives you the leverage to negotiate from a position of strength, not desperation. When you're broke, you're trapped. You can't ask for a raise or push back on a boss's unreasonable demands because, well, you need that next paycheck to survive. But with $20,000 sitting in the bank, the dynamic changes entirely. You could literally quit tomorrow and survive for months. You aren't being reckless, but you are finally negotiating from a position of profound power. And the secret superpower here is a really beautiful irony. You often don't even need to use your walking away money. Just knowing it's sitting there safely in your account completely changes your demeanor. You become more confident, you become way more assertive at work, you're suddenly willing to take on challenging projects and explore new opportunities. And guess what? People totally notice. You start getting better assignments, more recognition, and ultimately, a whole lot more income. It's an incredible positive feedback loop that accelerates your wealth even faster. All right, red alert. We need to pause right here because there is an incredibly dangerous trap called the failure loop. Here's how it goes. Step 1, you hit 20 grand. Step 2, you suddenly feel rich and decide you deserve a massive reward for all your hard work and discipline. Step 3, you go straight out and buy a brand new car. Step 4, you actively destroy all the wealth you literally just built. Please, whatever you do, do not do this. That $20,000 is not a reward for good behavior. It is the foundational seed for your generational wealth. Let's put some genuinely terrifying numbers to that exact trap. $400,000. That is the staggering lifetime cost of owning and maintaining cars for the average person over a 40-year period. Between the car payments, the insurance, the maintenance, and the gas, people are easily dropping $600 to $800 every single month just to get from point A to point B. And meanwhile, they'll complain that they just can't afford to save for retirement. Plus, remember, the literal second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses about 20% of its value. You're just spending money, you're watching your wealth literally evaporate. We absolutely have to start filtering major purchases through the lens of opportunity cost. A $30,000 car today, that's the equivalent of a $200,000 investment in 20 years. That shiny new car payment might make you feel wealthy today, but it is actually keeping you poor. When you look at it this way, driving a reliable older car doesn't feel like a sacrifice anymore, does it? It feels like a brilliant strategic choice for your future freedom. I mean, the person in the flashy new car is probably stressed about money, while the person in the older Honda is quietly building wealth and sleeping incredibly well at night. It really all comes down to this thought. It's the difference between surviving and thriving, between reacting to life and designing it. Once you truly understand the power of compound interest and opportunity cost, you become deeply intentional with your money. You realize you don't actually want half the stuff you thought you did. And it's not about becoming some penny pincher who never has any fun either. It's about having the peace of mind to focus on what actually matters to you. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Will you react to life or will you design it? That $20,000 milestone is waiting for you. It isn't a myth and it certainly isn't out of reach. It is the absolute foundation of your financial independence. Start building that foundation today because your future self is counting on the decisions you make right now. Trust me on this one. They will thank you for it.